I've talked to many other girls, and a lot of things have happened, okay?
That's Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, and she wasn't talking about one person. She was talking about a network.
A lot of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on.
And now, Joe Rogan just dropped a bombshell that connects one of those people directly to Hollywood's sweetheart.
Is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia. Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her, but...
A victim's final voicemail. A comedian who fled the country. And a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Here's what nobody is connecting. Joe Rogan doesn't hold back. He never has. But what he revealed in a recent episode wasn't just another Hollywood expose. It was a direct line between Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network and Ellen DeGeneres. And it all started with a voicemail. According to sources close to Rogan's team, a leaked voicemail from one of Epstein's victims, believed to be Virginia Giuffre, mentioned Ellen by name. Not as a bystander, not as someone who didn't know, but as someone who was involved. Someone who allegedly helped recruit young actors and models under the guise of career opportunities, only to funnel them into Epstein's world. Now, before you think this is just another conspiracy theory, let's connect the dots. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Virginia Giuffre didn't just accuse Epstein, she accused an entire system. In the early 2000s, she came forward claiming that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked her to Epstein's island starting when she was just 14 years old. She was forced to have relations with powerful men, including Prince Andrew, and she had the photographs to prove it. But here's what most people missed.
Of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on. Drivers, chauffeurs, butlers, housemaids. It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to, because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on.
She wasn't just talking about staff on the island. She was talking about people in positions of power and influence. People in the entertainment industry. People who could make or break careers with a single phone call. And according to the voicemail Rogan referenced, Ellen DeGeneres was one of them. Virginia had been writing a book. She was going to name names. She was going to expose everyone she saw during her time on Epstein's island and on his private jet. But before she could finish it, she was hit by a truck. She survived that. But days later, she allegedly took her own life. I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me, for the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. She knew, she warned us, and then she was gone.
Breaking news coming in, some sad news to share. We're learning this from the New York Post, several other outlets reporting this as well. Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted Jeffrey Epstein, took her own life on Thursday.
But here's the kicker. The voicemail that Rogan exposed wasn't sent to authorities. It was sent to someone Virginia trusted, someone she thought could help her. And in that voicemail, she allegedly named Ellen as someone who knew what was happening and helped bring girls in. The book Virginia was writing, a significant portion of it disappeared right around the time of her death. Convenient. Now, let's talk about Ellen, because her behavior over the last few years has been weird. And by weird, I mean suspicious as hell. In 2024, the FBI announced they were finally going to release the Epstein files. The full list, the emails, the flight logs, everything. And guess who immediately fled the country?
Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia de Rossi have moved to rural England, put their Montecito estate on the market, and plan to never return to the United States, telling friends the election of Donald Trump was their primary motivation.
Oh, so it was about Trump? Really? Because the timing says otherwise. Ellen didn't just leave. She vanished. She sold her mansion, changed her appearance, went from blonde to brunette overnight, and moved to a remote part of England where she could stay out of the spotlight.
They're losing their minds.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very
she could
sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia.
But it gets darker. Shortly after Ellen left the country, her executive producer and right-hand man, Stephen Twitch Boss, Angeles, allegedly took his own life. And according to reports, he left a note.
We're learning more tonight about the tragic suicide of Stephen Twitch Boss and the detailed steps he took to hide his plans. TMZ is reporting when Twitch left his home the day before his suicide, he took an Uber to a motel about a mile away. At the motel, he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach him.
Twitch allegedly told his wife everything in that note. He revealed what he saw when he was working with Ellen, things that involved powerful people, things he was pressured to keep quiet about. And according to leaked DMs and online forums, there was also a voicemail allegedly sent to Ellen that revealed everything. That voicemail has never been officially released, but multiple sources claim it exists. And if Joe Rogan has it, or has heard it, that changes everything. Because Twitch wasn't just Ellen's producer, he was her witness. And now he's gone. Here's where it gets really disturbing. Ellen wasn't even trying to hide what she was involved in. She joked about it, on camera, in front of millions. In one episode with Sandra Bullock, they openly discussed using a facial treatment made from the foreskin of babies, and they laughed about it.
What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean.
They laughed. The audience laughed. But this isn't a joke. This is something that's been rumored in Hollywood for years. The use of stem cells, fetal tissue, and extractions from young people to keep the elite looking young. And if you think that's far-fetched, let me introduce you to Peter Nygård.
Stem cell technology that Peter and I are investing in that's called SCNT, which takes the egg of a young, perfect woman specimen, takes the egg and takes out the nucleus and puts our DNA in the nucleus.
For $100, we will pay you for your egg. If you have an abortion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. Peter Nygård is now in prison for sex trafficking and assault. And guess what? He was connected to Epstein. They shared the same interests, the same research, the same obsession with youth and genetics. And Ellen was joking about the same thing on daytime television. Let's talk about Ellen's set, because fans have pointed out something very strange.
They've done this here.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I was like, you know what? That's a good way to die. They're not going to let me buy that place. Look at it.
Oh, well, you know where that is too, right? It's a similar image to that, right?
No.
I know Jamie does.
What is it?
It's on the set of a famous talk show that's now not on anymore.
Oh, Ellen? Was that Ellen?
Yeah.
Really?
Just look at the temple and then look at the...
Let me see Ellen's background. What?
Side by side, the design is almost identical. The colors, the structure, the aesthetic. It's not a smoking gun, but it's another piece of a very disturbing puzzle. When the Epstein files were finally released in 2025, people started noticing something strange. Words related to food kept showing up over and over again. From the recently released Department of Justice Epstein files, people have noticed that words related to food show up unusually often in emails and documents. The word pizza appears hundreds of times, along with mentions of ice cream and grape soda in places where they just don't make sense. These weren't recipes, they were code words. And one email in particular stood out.
No, some are like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body. And then Olivier replies, as long as you don't have any hammerhead ones, are like white sharks. And then Jeffrey then sends an email the next day, as two are Russian, I guess some might refer to them as white sharks. And then Olivier then emails, the king of Saudi has a few white sharks in his Jeddah palace. I totally prefer yours. Sure, I would enjoy the view. And then Jeffrey goes, on my island in the Caribbean with an aquarium full of girls.
An aquarium full of girls. Not fish, girls. And these emails weren't just between Epstein and random people. They were between Epstein and people in Hollywood. People with connections to studios, agencies, and yes, talk shows. Ellen's show ended in 2022 after allegations of a toxic workplace surfaced. Employees came forward saying they were abused, silenced, and traumatized.
Like a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a right? You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life.
But here's the thing, Ellen didn't just apologize and move on. She forced Twitch to sit next to her during the apology. She used him as a shield, and not long after, he was gone.
Had any of those attempts happened, I would have missed the best part of my life.
That was Tyler Perry talking about suicide, and it was played during the coverage of Twitch's death because Twitch allegedly left a note that said he had been struggling. But those close to him say that's not the full story. Let's not forget the other victims, because Virginia wasn't the only one. Marina Lacerda was just 14 when she was recruited by Epstein. She was told it was a massage job. It wasn't.
I think with Jeffrey Epstein, it starts somewhere, but then it ends with either you having sex with him whether you like it or not. He has somebody new in his life. He likes to see them a lot. So I went there a whole bunch of times and, it led to, unfortunately, he forced me to have sex with him, basically. It came to a point when I was, I'd say 16 and a half or 17. He didn't want me anymore. He was just like, you're too old.
He said that?
He's like, you're too old. I don't want you anymore.
Another victim tried to swim off the island to escape. I already had 2 prior escape attempts. There was one when I tried to swim off the island after I'd been raped 3 times and after Ghislaine had taken my food away. I was prepared to die swimming and trying to escape off that island that night.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being over and over and over again.
These aren't conspiracies. These are testimonies. These are real people who were destroyed by this network. And Ellen? She was allegedly part of the recruitment pipeline, using her platform, using her influence, using her image as the nice one to lure young actors and models into a world they could never escape. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, but Epstein, he's dead. And according to Ghislaine herself, he didn't kill himself.
So you think he did not die by given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by no.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
She wouldn't say, but she didn't have to, because the FBI has been lying about this from the start. Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, was even caught on tape lying about Epstein. He went on Joe Rogan and said that there was no way that Epstein was murdered. But Ghislaine says otherwise. The victims say otherwise. And now, Joe Rogan is saying otherwise. And when reporters try to ask about it, they get shut down.
Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry, you're asking her about whether she's reviewed emails in the Epstein files which relate to the wacky Pizzagate scam.
You could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So excuse me, your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
They won't answer, they won't investigate, and they sure as hell won't release the full files, because if they did, names like Ellen DeGeneres might finally be held accountable. So here's what we know. Virginia Giuffre named names before she died. One of those names was allegedly Ellen DeGeneres. Joe Rogan has now exposed a voicemail that links Ellen directly to Epstein's network. Ellen fled the country the moment the Epstein files were set to be released. Twitch, her right-hand man, allegedly left a note and a voicemail revealing what he saw. Ellen joked on camera about using baby foreskin facials, something tied to the same genetic research Epstein was obsessed with. Her set was designed to look like Epstein's temple. The Epstein files are full of code words, and emails mention Hollywood connections. Victims have testified that this was a network, not just one man. And the people in power? They're still covering it up. There are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. The government is still in possession right now of the documents and information that could help me remember and get over all of this. I don't have any of it. At this point, it's not even about one person anymore. It's about a system that keeps repeating the same pattern. People speak out, and then suddenly they're silenced, discredited, or gone. Files get delayed, evidence disappears, and the truth gets buried under headlines that never quite add up. So what do you think? Coincidence or cover-up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns like this uncensored, straight to the point, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because they don't want us talking about this, but we're not stopping.